Excellent. Okay. So to kick off, we'll do an acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and we extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. So what are we going to go through today? We're going to go through 6 sections today. First one will be looking at, considering your needs. Then the second part will be searching for workers and posting a job, and that will include a platform demonstration. Um, Part of that platform demonstration will be how to write a great job post. Then we'll discuss, how to make that right decision for you. And then we'll talk about building your team. And then finally, what we'll come across is where to come to get help if you need any assistance with, finding a support worker or needing assistance on the Mable platform. What I'll do is I'll go through each of the sections and I'll stop at the end of each section. So if you do have any questions in relation to that section, please ask. If you unmute yourself and you can ask, or if you don't wish to unmute yourself, as I said, we do have that chat option there. You can pop your questions in the chat, and then I can come back and I can answer those questions for you. All righty, so let's kick off. When we talk about considering your needs, we think about 3 things. We think about the what, we think about the when, and we think about the who. So what type of support are you looking for? When is the support required? And who do you imagine providing that support? So the types of support that we have on Mable, so we have 4 types of support. So we have daily living, social and community activities. This is housework, organizing transport, gardening, meal prep, and more. We have personal care, which includes showering, voice transfer, and more. We have nursing, which is wound care, medication management, respite support, and more. And we have allied health, which is the psychology, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. So they're all the types of support which are available on Mable, and they align with the support that you can get if you have a support at home package through the government. So when we talk about when do you need support, and these are all things when you're thinking about writing a job post, you should make potentially when you're thinking about it, make some notes. So as when it comes to writing that job post, you've got notes on what's important. So when we say when do you need support, so think about how often do you need that support? Will it be a once off, or will it be an ongoing, or is it for a short period, or is it for a long period? And when ideally you would like that support to start. All these kinds of questions will help you when it comes to writing that job post, and will help you when you're talking to potential support workers, will give them an understanding of what you're looking for. And who do you want to support you? So think about things like age range, gender, is that important to you? Personality types. When we go through the job posting demonstration on Mable, you'll see that there are many filters that you can look at from, if English is potentially a second language for you. So you may want to have someone who speaks your first language. That's something that you can filter on Mable. So just thinking about what's important to you for that person who's coming in to support you in your home. So as I said, I'm going to pause there. Did anyone have any questions in relation to what we're going to go through in the webinar? I think I've got nothing in the chat at the moment. So, we've got someone else to come in. So we'll let Anaz in. So welcome, Anaz. We've just gone through what we're going to cover off in this webinar, and we're up to the search workers and posting a job. section. So I'm going to jump out of here and I'm going to jump into the Mable dashboard. Can you just give me a yes in the chat if you can now see the Mable dashboard on the screen?
Yes.
Thank you, Anaz. I appreciate that. So when you go on to, oh, sorry, did you have a question, Anaz?
No, no.
No? Okay, cool.
So I've probably
Um,
missed a fair bit already.
Oh, it's just an introduction on what we're going to go through. So you'll at the tomorrow we'll send you out a recording of this session as well. So
Oh, good.
if you can go back and watch that first section, but we've just gone through the 6 steps that we're going to go through during this webinar. And this is step 2, which is the dashboard demonstration. So when we
Okay.
come to the dashboard, there are 2 ways that you can search for a worker. You can search for a worker by simply going on and clicking search workers. And what we can then do is we can type in a postcode. So we'll just use Barangaroo where we are here in Sydney. And then what I can do is I can search for all the support workers that are in that postcode. Of course, for you, you would put your relevant postcode in there. Now, from here, you can do one of 2 things. You can go through and you can answer a few more questions, which will filter out or filter down the search, or you can go directly to skip to results. So I'm going to go skip to results here. And what it will do, it will actually bring up every support worker that is available in your area without any filters on there. So if we're looking at Barangaroo here, we've got 1,877 matches of support workers who are able to support you if you live in the Barangaroo area. Now, what we can then do from there is 1,877 is a big number, and we're not going to go through each individual profile to understand which is the best support worker for me. So what I then would suggest is you go down into the filter section here, and you can filter for things that are really important to you. Remember when we were discussing the who and the when in the first section? This is where that information becomes available. So if you're looking for, let's say I'm looking for support on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and let's go, I'm going to go, so Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can see that every time I add a filter in, that number comes down. So now we've narrowed it down to like 1,400 support workers. Then as one of the questions we asked earlier, is gender a preference? So if it is, so if if you're a female and you feel more comfortable with a female, or if you are thinking, even if you're a female, that potentially you may need assistance with getting up in and out of beds or something, and you feel like a male might be better to help you from a strength point of view, it's totally a personal preference here. You can then select here. So we'll just say I'm looking for a female support worker. And again, you'll see my matches here drops down each time I add in a filter. So what kind of support am I looking for? If I'm looking for, let's say I'm looking for social and domestic care support, we'll do that. Again, the matches drop down. And then from there, what kind of social support am I looking for? And you can see all of these options that fall under that daily living and social support. So I might say, I need help with my housework. I've got a large garden and I find it difficult to maintain. So I might need some assistance with gardening and shopping. And then what we can then do is that's in the daily living. Do I need personal care services? So do I need to select anything here? Any of the allied health services, again, if I needed any of those, I would tick those. Because every time we kind of do that, that number keeps dropping down and it narrows the field of people that you would need to, or profiles that you can look at. Then if down here, I want to look at all the filters that we've got. So these are the ones we've covered off already. But again, there's things like I'm looking specifically for someone with aged care experience, so I can tick that box. Um, do I have, if I've got maybe my partner has dementia or Parkinson's disease, if that's something you can then filter that down even further. What qualifications are really important to me? So if I'm looking for potentially someone to help me with my shopping and I need them to drive me to the shopping center, a driver's license would be really important to me. And you've got all these filters that you can go through and so it helps you narrow down that search for you. Is a COVID vaccination really important to you? As I mentioned before, if English is potentially your second language, and you'd like someone who can speak your native language, so maybe I speak Spanish as my first language. I can tick that box as well. So then, I'm finding that support worker that's really going to work with me. And then we can come into even things like interests. So, do you have pets? Do you enjoy cooking? Finding a support worker that has similar interests with you will be it's recommended because then you have things to talk about and ways to, I suppose, be more comfortable with each other. So I'm going to stop there. There's all those filters there. So you can go through there and filter them. And once I've gone through those filters, I can then go, okay, I've now gone from 1,700 people down to 11, which is a really manageable number of profiles that I can then go through and look at and see who I would like to contact. So if I just look at Sophia here, for example, and I click on her profile, it opens up and it gives me more information about Sophia. So there's generally up here, you'll have some information about Sophia, about the types of support workers she's doing. It just gives you a bit of a background of her experience. It gives you her preferred hours. So you can see here, she's updated it a couple of weeks ago, which is good. And it gives you the days and times that she's available. It gives you her qualifications and her services that she offers. And it also gives you the indicative rates of what she will charge or what she's looking to charge. Now, remember on Mable that this is something that you can negotiate. So her indicative rate for a weekday is $75 an hour. Your budget may only allow $70 an hour. That's a conversation that you can have with Sophia and say, hey, I noticed you've got it at $75. I can only afford $70. I've seen your question there, Kay. I'll come back to you and I answer that. Um, so again, it's a conversation that you have with the support worker around the rates. It tells you she's pet friendly. These are all the verifications and safeguards that she's done. And it's also got her experience in there as well. Um, think remember when in the filter I asked for a Spanish speaking support worker. So you can see here that she speaks English and Spanish, and then it's got her interests. So it gives you a full background of who Sophia is. And if Sophia is someone that you are, say, yep, I think this would be a good match for me, you can do one of two things. You can contact Sophia. This is actually the large site, so I'm not going to go down and contact Sophia. Um, or if you'd like, yep, I think Sophia's good, I can add her to my shortlist. So I can tick shortlist here. And then I can come back and I can go continue reviewing the other people, the other support workers who met the criteria that I put in with those filters. And I can go through each one of them and then I can go, yes, I can do that one, that one, that one. And then I can come back and go to my short list, which is just here. So then I can go, oh, here's my short list. If I'd added other people to my short list, they would be listed here as well. And then I can go through and say, yep, I'm happy now to start a conversation with the people in my short list. So that's one way that you can find a support worker if it's in your area. Um, at Mable, what we actually recommend you to do is to actually write a job post and post it on the platform and then have the support workers come to you. The advantage of doing that is sometimes, when we were looking at Sophia's profile, sorry, I'll just go to profile. You can see that she has updated her times quite recently, but there are some profiles where, they may have times on their profile which is now no longer, they may not be available, which is where if you actually write your job post and put in the times that you are looking for, the support worker can look at that and go, okay, actually, even though I need to update my profile, I can see that I can't fulfill what you're looking for, and then they won't apply for the job. So that's one reason. And again, I think actually going through and searching profiles could be a little tedious. I think by posting your job profile and actually having support workers come to you, I think that's a nicer way of doing it. But it's up to you, however you wish to do that. So what we'll do is the second part, which is posting a job. So what I'll do is I go to this job section and I'm going to post a job. So when we come to posting a job, there are two types of jobs that you can do. So there's what we call a standard job, which is an ongoing or one-off, but it's not required for at least 3 days into the future or longer. So it's not an urgent request, or they have what we call a last minute job. So a last minute job is a one-off job, which is a support starting within the next 4 to 48 hours. So you may need something really urgent, or your current support worker may not have been able to, or may have had to call in sick or something, and you really need that support. You would do a last minute job. Otherwise, we will do a standard job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in and we'll just go through doing a standard job. I'm going to start a new job. So again, we'll go through those sections of really writing that job. So again, what type of support are you looking for? So I'll continue with my example of what I was doing before. So I'm looking for daily living, social and community activities. If you need more than one, so if you potentially need both that and personal care, you can tick as many boxes as you need. It's not a one you don't need, it's not just one selection, so you can choose multiple selections. But I'm going to choose that one for this example. And then what it does is it comes in and it comes up to and asks you what types of daily living and social community activities you want to include. And it runs through the list of services that are available. So using my example, I need help going and doing the shopping. So I'll do that. I need help with light gardening and also help around the house. But again, you can tick as many of these. Oh, I've got a question from Anaz. How do you determine how much support the worker has provided to other people? That was in the profile, but again, I will finish this section and then I'll come back and answer those questions. So I can see they're in there, but we'll continue on and come back. So then I'll go continue. And then it breaks it out. So it's asking you a few more questions around the categories that you have put in of the support you're looking for. So what type of transport are you looking for? Again, this is optional. So if you don't feel like answering this, don't. I always feel that if there is information that you can give to the support worker, or the more information that you can give the support worker, the clearer they'll be of the type of work that you're looking for support with. So to be driven in a worker's vehicle. So I'm going to say I'd like to be driven in the worker's vehicle. You may have your own vehicle and feel more comfortable in that vehicle. So if that's the case, you would tick there. You may not have a vehicle or prefer to catch public transport. So there are options there on how you'd like to do that. And then where we'll be traveling. So for this exercise, we're doing shopping and errands. And do you have any requirements for the worker's vehicle? So for here, this may be potentially things like, trying to think of an example here. I'm thinking of one from a disability sector where kind of like must be able to or I have a walker, for example, so the car must be able to fit my walker in the boot. Could be something that would be a requirement. Um, so I won't put anything there, but then we go there. So then it comes on to the next section, which talks about light housework. And so then it's asking what types of housework am I looking for? So I'm going to need assistance with bathroom cleaning, maybe some vacuuming, and some laundry. And it asks here again, will the worker need to bring their own equipment and supplies? So this is either a yes or a no. It's an optional question, but if you have all the supplies there, I think that would be easier for the support worker. So you can just go, no, I'll provide the equipment and supplies, and that just makes it easier for them. And then we're talking about the gardening details that I put in. So I've got quite a large lawn, and weeding are probably the two things that I need gosh, I lost my train of thought there. Assistance with. And so will the worker again bring their own supplies? No, I've got my own supplies because I really love gardening. So I just need that assistance there. Then ask me for what location I'm in. So we'll keep it at Barangaroo for now because that's where I am currently. And then we move into how often do we need that support? So am I looking this as a one-off? Is it weekly, fortnightly, or monthly? So we're going to say I've got the budget for weekly, and I'm looking for, I'm keeping all the details from my last example. So I'm looking for 3 support sessions per week, and they're going to be for 1 hour per session. When would I like this to support? So if I would like say, I can say as soon as possible, or if I have a specific date and I tick that box, it will actually bring down the drop down boxes. So it might say, I'm looking to start this on the 1st of March 2026. So it's up to you what you want to do or when you want to start the support. And when it comes to scheduling, so this is a question around from a timing point of view or a day's point of view, are you flexible or do you want specific days and times? So if I'm flexible, you'll tick that box. But if I want specific days and times, it will bring down this drop down option where you can go through and select. So you might say, yes, from my previous example, I want Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. And I can only do the morning. So I'll say I can only do from, 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock. And then if you may be able to do kind of like different times. So you may be able to do the afternoon as well. You might go in there and say, oh, but I'm also available from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, for example. So you can put multiple times in for a day. I'm just going to keep it simple for this example and say I'm only available in the morning. And I go through the days that I've selected, and I just put in the times that I'm available during those days. Okay, so then we go, oh, gone down too far. And then it's got anything else here. So if, I said between 8 and 11 o'clock, add any details about flexible your days are or your time preferences. If, I am flexible between 8 and 11, but I really would like, between 10 and 11, I could put something in here. Say my preference is between 10 and 11. However, am flexible for the times above. Again, it's an optional field. You don't need to put anything in there. But if you do have like a time that you'd really like, you can add that in there. So this section here, again, is an optional section. So it just runs through some diagnoses or medical conditions that you're willing to share, which are relevant to your support. So I'm just having a look. I need help with my gardening, so I'll tick I may have arthritis, which is the reason why I need assistance with my gardening. Again, it's an optional field, and it's what you're comfortable in sharing with your support worker. And I'll hit continue. And this is where we come to writing that job post that we discussed in the first section. So if we look at this giving your job a title, what I recommend for here is think about what's really important in your job post. I'm just going to pick one that we've chosen before. So as an example, so here I've gone for gender was important to me. So I've called out that I'm looking for a male. Um, the language is important to me. So I've called out French. I know we were speaking Spanish earlier, so I'll just update that. So I'm continuing with my um, example. And then you'll say, I'm looking for a house cleaner. We were also looking for some personal care and some driving. And then also for what time frame are you looking for? How many sessions per week are you looking? So just think of what's really important to you. And then that will form your job title for this. It already, because we filled this section in, will auto fill in that we're looking for transportation, light housework, and light gardening. Um, and then there's this section for, are there any additional details you'd like to add to support your description? So if there's anything that's in from this support section that you feel hasn't been included that you may want to add, you can add that in here. So for example, with the driving, um, I need support in going to the local shopping centre to get my groceries. And then we come down to this section to what is important for your support worker to know about you. So we've got some examples here of things that you can put in here. So you can put, my name is John, I live by myself, just things about you that you feel. So John here says sometimes I get anxious, so it's important to know who's coming to help me. Or I live with my 89-year-old husband and their cat. Hannah has dementia. Just important things that you'd like your support worker to know. One that comes to my head all the time is if you have an animal of any kind, you might want to put that in there. So, I have a dog, a friendly dog, just in case someone has a dog allergy or something like that. Just information about you that you feel is relevant for your support worker to know about you. It's an optional field, so you don't need to fill anything there, but you can. And then you come down here. So what's the preference for? I said in my job title, I would prefer a male. What preferred qualities do you seek in your support worker? So this is where, Spanish speaking, must love dogs, um, what type of experience they have. So if there are certain things that you need, so if you may need wound care or something, you may say something like, I need someone who's comfortable with wound care. So that's someone with a nursing certificate, just things like that, what's really important to you. So again, you've got some examples here. Of things that you can put in there. So someone who's young, energetic, and friendly, someone who has experience with autism. So I might say, because I've had arthritis, someone who has worked with arthritis, someone with arthritis before, and things like a preference on things that you like. So you may like AFL football, or you may like puzzles or something. Just something that helps you to connect with your support worker would be something that you could put in there. Someone who is reliable, that's a very important one. That would be something I would put in. And then once we've done all that, it's going to create this job post for us. it's got all of the information that we've put in there. And then what we can then do is once we've reviewed that and we're happy with everything, we can then post this to the local workers, and that job will go onto the platform. And then workers will be able to see your job post and then be able to apply to your job post. Oof, that was a lot there, and I've been talking at you for a while, so I'm going to take a pause. Um, how's everyone going? I've got a few questions in here that we'll answer now. So what happens when you post a job but get no response? It's an interesting question, Kay. I think there are a few answers to that question. We may want to look at your job post itself, and may just need to rework your job post and help you with that. Um, it could be, I'm not sure which area you're in, the amount of support workers that are available in your area. But definitely what I would suggest is at the end of this section, we've got some ways that our team can assist you. So if you're not getting responses to your job post, it might be a great idea to contact one of our team who can help look at your job post and help maybe refine it. So as then hopefully that gets you some responses. Anaz said, how to determine how much support the work has provided to the other people. That was generally in the profile that we look at. I'm going to come out of this job post again because this is the live site and I don't want to post that job. So I'm just going to exit that job. But if I go back into this my shortlist and I look at Sophia's profile, and I come down here, you can see that she's got her work history here, and her education and training. We've also introduced here on Mable is we've introduced, and I'll go back to searching, searching for a worker here. Skip to results. You can look at, we've got these new badges on the support workers profile. So you can see that Farhan here is a superstar. And so what that means is we recognize Farhan as someone who has done a lot of work on the platform, and he's got like 1,000+ support hours on Mable. So that could be something that you could look for as well when you're looking for a support worker. Are they a superstar? But you can see on each of the profiles, it tells you how much support they've done. So again, we've got Leanne here, who's a superstar. She's done 200 hours of support. And then, as I said, on each of the profiles, you can see the experience and the education that they've got. And also some of them have reviews. So you'll be able to see here on this profile that she's got 2 reviews where they've both been given 5 stars. Not all profiles have reviews, but and that's something else that you can look for as well, is you can look for reviews on each of the profiles. And someone had to jump off, but they'll look at the recorded version tomorrow. So that's our online demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into our presentation here. We'll just do a recap. So posting a job is the best way to connect with suitable independent support workers on Mable. When we say job, we mean the type of support that you require. So the benefits are they're seen by the available support workers. They're seen by the support workers that match your criteria, and workers who are interested and fit your requirements will then respond to you. As I said earlier, if you want to search for profiles and then reach out to them independently, that's totally fine as well. So how to write a great job post, we did that in the demonstration, but what to include? So ongoing or one-off. So think about when you need that support. When do you want it to start? How often do you want it? How regularly, and then for how long? The date and time of job, again, can you be specific or do you want to be flexible? Totally up to you. The location, will it be in your home? So for the example that I gave, it was all based around the home. So like the gardening and things like that. But think about, do you need to be taken to appointments, doctor's appointments and things like that? You would put that in the job post as well. And a bit about yourself. So, your age, your gender, your personalities, as I said, likes and hobbies, interests are always a good thing. So where you can find some common ground that you can um, relate to your support worker is a good way of finding someone who would be good fit for you. So what are your goals? Include that as well. Is there anything you're trying to achieve with this support? The specific skills and interests or qualifications. Are there any interests you'd love your worker to share or a specific cultural background? So language, as we've discussed a few times, car and driver's license. Make sure to mention that if you need your worker to drive you. And that's all in that job post that you can select that. And then you can have your must-haves or nice-to-haves. So any other preferences? For example, a non-smoker, is that important to you? That COVID vaccination thing, not thing, but is that COVID vaccinations, is that important to you? Just think about what's important to you in relation to what your support worker brings to the table. I know I've spoken a lot, and it sounds like your job ad should be lengthy, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be War and Peace. It just needs to outline the specifics of what you're looking for and what's really important for you. We've done that demonstration. So then once we've done all that, we then get to come to making a decision. So we've posted our job, and then what will happen once we post a job is support workers will then start applying for that job. So then you can go into each of the support workers who apply, and then you can look at their applications, and then you can assess whether you feel they'd be a good fit. So we're just looking at this person here. So going, hello, I'd love to be considered for this job. Talks about herself a little bit. I take great pride in my domestic assistance. She gives you a bit more of her background, tells you her availability, tells you her indicative rates. But then you can also, in the application, you can view her profile, and her full profile will come up when you do that. Now, once you've decided on people who you would like to be your support worker, what we always recommend is that you do a meet and greet with them. So with a meet and greet, you can do that in one of two ways. You can do it either virtually through the platform, so you can jump on a call similar to what we're doing now, or you can meet them in person. So if you're meeting them in person, what we recommend is to choose a meeting place that's public, quiet, and accessible. As I mentioned, we also do virtual meet and greets if that suits your needs. It's totally up to you. Make a list of the types of support you're seeking. Prepare some questions that will show their personality. So you might think of something like, what do you think sets you apart from other support workers? Or can you tell me about a difficult experience you had with a client? It gives you an understanding of how they operate and how they will likely work with you. Ask your potential worker to bring evidence of their qualifications. If you feel like Mabel's done all the verifications, but if you, for your comfort level, would like to see them, it's okay to ask them to bring evidence of their qualifications with them. Bring along a pen and paper. And if you may have a representative or a loved one who is helping you with this process, they're more than welcome. You can bring them along too. Whatever or whoever you need to bring along to make you feel comfortable, you can do that. As you can have a virtual meet and greet using the Mable app. Once you've had the meet and greet, you've gone through, you've selected your support workers, the support worker will then go away and they will um, complete a service agreement. So what is a service agreement? It's an agreement that it outlines the terms relating to the support, the services, the rates of that service, and the schedule of the support agreed upon you and your support worker. So why are these really important? Because with a signed agreement, both you and your support worker are covered by Mabel's suite of insurances, and these protect you both for every support session that is logged and invoiced via Mable. So that's a really good reassurance that you're covered under Mable's insurances. As long as everything's gone through the platform, it's logged in the platform and invoiced through the platform, you're covered under our insurances. So for the agreements, there's the process. So you've chosen your support worker and they will then send you an agreement on the platform. You get a notification that you've received an agreement. You review and accept the agreement. However, you can disagree with anything. And if you disagree with anything, you can reject it. And then that will go back to the support worker and they can amend that agreement so it matches what you discussed and what you agreed upon. And once that agreement is then approved and agreed upon by both parties, the support worker is covered by our insurances, and so are you. So here's a direct message example that you can get. And as I said, it's really important here that if you are unable to accept an agreement, check the, oh, sorry, that's not what I was going to say. Just want to go back to this section here. If you disagree with anything, you can reject and don't feel like nervous about doing that. You've got to make sure that everything in the agreement is what you agreed with your support worker. If you do reject an agreement, just make sure you reach out to the support worker so they understand why you've rejected it. So then they can fix up anything that that you don't agree with, and then they can resend that back to you. So then you can agree on that agreement. If you go on and you're unable to accept an agreement, just check that you've completed your profile. So in the dashboard, you've got a profile section. I think there are like 3 sections. Just go through and just double check that all those fields in the profile have been set up. And then once that has happened, you'll then be able to accept an agreement. So what should an agreement include? Where the support services will occur, the type of services that will occur, like times and days, what types of support you will be receiving, the agreed hourly or flat rates for the support services, including rates for public holidays, what kind of activities the support worker will be helping you complete, terms pertaining to the minimum hours per support session, cancellation policy, policies on finishing early or late, terms on when the agreement may be changed or updated to be terminated, or what happens in each case, and terms relating to feedback and complaints and how they should be handled. All of that's in the agreement. So when you receive that, just make sure you go through and read all of it and feel that you're comfortable before you go and accept that agreement. And then we'll come to building your support team. And this is something we recommend at Mable. And why do we recommend support and having a team? First one is the substitute if needed. So if you have your main support worker and they get sick or they wish to take holidays, it's better to have someone else who already knows you and knows what you're looking for and what support is required. One size doesn't always fit all. So you might need people with different skill sets to suit your needs. So you may need someone for your daily activities and you may need someone for your allied health support. And they may be 2 different people, and that's okay. Everyone brings something different to the table. Each person can add to your life in different ways. And many support workers equals more safeguards. It's a good idea to have more than one pair of eyes that are observing you and what's going on within your life. So that's important as well. So if you've got an existing support worker and you're looking to build that team, a good tip is to actually involve your current support worker. And they could actually be the ones who take the lead in finding you other support workers to join your team. They may have friends that they know that do similar work and have similar personalities that they know will gel well with you. So they could be the lead on finding additional support workers. You can check the current skill sets. So think about if there are any skills that you require that are currently missing from your current support team. And then also consider any additional support requirements. So think about over time whether your support needs have changed and you need new or additional supports. And then write a position description. So similar to writing that job post that we did. So write down what you need based on the above, and that can help define the role. And then you use that as your job post. So where to get help from Mable? And Kay, this will be good for you. But I will also, if you're comfortable, oh, Kay's left, the Kay's gone. So Kay, when you're watching this video, where to get help from Mable? So 3 places to get help. So we have our online phone support team based here in Sydney, and you can reach out to them on 1300 736 573. And they're available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that's Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We've got a live chat on our website, so you can go on and speak to on the chat option on the website. And there's someone there reviewing that between Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And then we also have on Mable, we have help centers. So we have helpful articles on the website. So if you do have any questions, you can go to the help center and you can search for what you're looking for. And more than likely there'll be a help article there, which you can get some helpful tips from. But all 3 of those options are open to you. And Kay, what I would recommend to you when you're watching this, potentially contact the team on that 1300 number. Ask them to have a look at that job post where you're not getting any responses, and maybe, as I said, they can help you refine that post to hopefully solve that problem for you. I'm going to pause there. You're probably sick of my voice by now. And ask, is there any questions that I can answer for you? No, doesn't look like it. Um, well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate that. You joining me today. Hopefully you got some good information out of that, and the video recording will be sent to you tomorrow. So thank you all for today. I hope you have a lovely afternoon. And yeah, we'll speak soon. Thank you. Bye.